You're smart, you're motivated, you want to do something big. You're on the verge of being a young boss, and we're going to help you get there. I'm your host, Isabelle Guarino, and welcome to the Young Boss Podcast, where youth is your power. Have you ever met somebody who's always doing something, particularly with their career? Today's guest is that somebody. From runways to commercial photo shoots as an esteemed and highly sought after model, to establishing himself as a go-to VIP and hospitality manager for some of the country's largest music festivals, to early mornings spent at F45 Studios as a lead trainer and managing partner, he truly embodies the lifestyle of a go-getter. Today's guest is none other than Brandyn Farrell. Brandyn, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Excited to have you here. We've never had a model.
You gave me such a great intro. I must say, thank you.
Yes. Well, it's very impressive, everything that you've been doing. And, I was talking with Alex before you came, just the modeling world. There's so many people who have other careers so that they can, ride out their dreams of being a model. Yep. But he was sharing me that you are like booked and busy all the time.
Very fortunate. It definitely took some time to get there. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Tell me a little bit about that journey.
It was definitely unexpected and random. I was working actually at the Kona Grill over at Santan. So if you're from the area, I'm sure you're familiar. But I was bartending there, and I was working with a guy who was really into fashion. He was studying at MCC at the time. He's like, "Oh, you got a face for modeling. Like, you should just submit your pictures." I didn't think anything of it. I submitted it to an agency in LA, and the next weekend they had me out in a hotel. I had 4 shoots over the weekend, and then they saw the photos and they were like, here's a contract. We'd like you to move to LA like as soon as you can.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like 18 at the time, so I was kind of overwhelmed and kind of like, is this really what I want to do? I never even thought about it, right?
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. And you've shot with all sorts of different companies. Yes. What is that like? Because obviously it's a grind, and at some point, have you always had consistent work like that, or has it been, a struggle at times?
In LA, I'm a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
There's so many people that move there to go and do that type of thing, right? So some of these castings and auditions you go to could have like 150 people show up to and stuff like that. So that's the beauty of having, a high prestigious agency that gets you in the door to have all those connections. And just like anything else, once you start establishing yourself, you kind of get more of a reputation, and then you kind of build those connections that kind of lead to, other jobs and stuff like that.
More gigs and stuff. Okay, while you were doing that, were you taking other gigs on the side to support?
Yeah, so when I first moved there, I moved there to do that, but I did have to, of course, establish myself and have an income at the time, right? So, I kind of worked a little bit in restaurants and bartending and stuff like that, and then I eventually got into a company, Tao Group, probably heard of Tao. They're established in Vegas, New York, worldwide. Yeah. I helped them open a club in Hollywood. That was kind of like my big foot in the door as far as getting into hospitality and stuff like that. And after opening that club, Tao Group opened a restaurant or two that I helped them open as well. So it's kind of just, fell into that.
Yeah.
And then once my modeling picked up, I was able to kind of disconnect for a while, and then I actually went back by choice to the club life just to work weekends and make extra money, because during the week sometimes it could be in that world of modeling. Yeah. You can wake up, you don't have anything to do sometimes, and it's just like super chill, and like that's just definitely LA lifestyle, so to speak, is that you have a lot of more free time and stuff like that. So the grind never ends, but sometimes you have to be able to manage your time a little bit more efficiently, and especially your budget and your income and everything like that.
Yeah. In the hospitality world, you got connected with that group. Now you're working on a whole nother, side of it, but really cool what you're doing, setting up those VIP experiences at different events and festivals. So what is that like, and why did you want to get back involved?
I think it's just what we're setting up for, like, I got goosebumps even thinking about like attending my first festival, and just like the energy that comes with all the people there that are there for something bigger, and everybody's in a great mood, everyone's having fun, supporting each other, laughing, it's all about like that plur movement that people used to be obsessed with and stuff. So just kind of creating a space like that for people to go really enjoy is just something I think it's really passionate for me. Like, it's a big passion thing to enable that for people.
Once you set it up, do you stick around?
Yeah, but I'm usually like plugged into my headphone and everything, like on the mic, like running around the entire venue. So I do take those moments to, soak it all in and just be present. And then, then it's just right back to it. I've done so many of them. So now it's to the point where it's like priority one, and then take it all in. If my friends come, even better, I'll get to hang. Yeah. I know I got to see Wes, which is one of Alex's buddies from Bad Birdie, actually came to one of my shows. So that was really cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. And then F45 on top of that. So obviously as a model, keeping yourself, like your body is your work. So keeping yourself in shape, did that just naturally flow into wanting to also add on a training aspect, or where did that come about?
Well, I think, I played sports, growing up the entire time, and then just fell into, I actually went to ASU on a scholarship to study kinesiology.
Awesome.
So I got the modeling offer when I was 18, 19. I was on scholarship at school, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of free education.
Yeah.
Finish out my school first and then move. So my degree in kinesiology, it sat on a shelf for about 10, 11 years. And then after moving back is when I actually really started to dive into the training and stuff. And I've been doing that now about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which of your 3 careers excites you the most?
That's tough. I would say the F45.
Yeah.
It's probably the newest thing that I've been dealing with, and kind of learning the process along the way. And it's kind of cool to have looked back, and it's only been 2.5 years, and just kind of see the trajectory that it's gone so far.
Yeah.
There's times in life when you kind of feel like you found what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I never dread getting up at 4 a.m. to be there at 4:30.
That's a big deal.
So yeah, right. If I can look forward to getting up that early and showing up for other people and stuff like that, it's all about them for the most part. That drives me, right?
That's amazing. Is there anything in that world, right? We've had trainers on before who like own their own gyms. Do you prefer the group class setting, or is that a goal one day to maybe like open your own thing?
I think eventually, if I do take that path, would be to own and operate my own, or get more specific dealing with special populations or athletes or anything like that. Whereas right now we have about 300 members. So I have people, my oldest member is pushing 70.
Awesome.
My youngest member is about 12, 13.
Wow.
So I have fitness levels all the way through.
Place.
So it's really rewarding just to kind of see progress for everybody, because everybody starts somewhere different.
Yeah.
Right? So
that is fun. And I'm assuming, I know all gyms work totally different. Does F45 work on a system that you will, like, the more people you have showing up to your class, the pay changes and stuff like that?
Not like that. I know some of those studios do, based upon like the coach pay and stuff like that. So I'm pretty locked into my per class rate, and then also a salaried position, right? Growing the business is always priority one. The better it does, the more likely I am to, of course, receive better compensation and stuff like that. The work itself, it never ends.
Yeah.
Right? You're constantly talking about it, or flyering, or doing little details on social media.
Yeah.
But really, the biggest driver of anything is always going to be people.
Yeah.
It's the connections you make. How are people referring your business, right? Most of our people that come in are referred by somebody else that's already a member, right?
Okay.
And that's like the best way I feel to grow a business, is from inside of members already reaching out and like, hey, you should come try because it's amazing here.
Word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that is the best way. And especially with classes, like even though it's a group environment, you think people would feel like super comfortable coming on their own for the first time.
Yeah.
But they don't.
No, it's a very scary and uncomfortable situation to come into for a lot of people. Even putting their athletic shoes on is a process, right? Much less walking to a place that nobody. Nothing about the workouts. Everything can kind of be sensory overload. The music's bumping. You got people jumping around. You got me acting a fool, screaming. One of my members like, it's just loud bass music and you yelling at me. I don't understand, right? So, I always hype those people up because they're taking the initiative to try something new.
Yeah.
And when you feel that anxiousness about a lot of stuff, a lot of times that means jump in.
Yep.
Take a chance.
I love it. I can totally relate, and I love workout classes actually, but the first time you do go, especially if you are alone, it's totally like anxiety ridden because you're like, is everybody already going to be best friends? What if I suck? What if they're all amazing? So did you have any like anxiety or qualms about even starting in that realm, since it was, even though you had athletic experience in the background and your degree, it's one thing to not have the knowledge.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then jump in and do it. Like, was your first class where you like, oh my God, are they going to like me?
So I started, honestly, when I started training, I was training people individually in small groups of 4 to 5 people max.
Okay.
And I was doing it out of a garage. Even in the summer in Arizona, I had a swamp cooler out there. I had all the gear and stuff like that. So that was a lot easier for me because I was able to connect, one-on-one, small group scenario. And jumping into group for me it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really scary. It was really hard. Basically went through a boot camp of training for that first week with the owner directly.
Okay.
And I sat in my car one of the days, on the phone with my ex at the time, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to quit. I have so much nerves. I can't do this. I can't get up and talk in front of all these people. Like, and then I had one of those moments of reflecting that we spoke about already. Like, if you're feeling anxious about something, it's probably an opportunity for to grow, not only within the realm of 45 or speaking like that, but just as an individual, right? If you're able to kind of conquer those fears, you can take something from it, even if it wasn't successful.
Yeah.
At least I could learn, like, hey, maybe this is something that I need to improve upon, right? And then, you know, I tell people that story now, and they're like, are you kidding me? Like, you were like made to do this type of thing. And I never felt that before until it started to really click. And now it just feels like, you know, easy peasy, just like another day doing it.
Yeah. That's fun. And I think there is such a transition, you know, in that of anytime you try something for the first time, right? And a lot of our listeners, they want to own businesses or they own businesses. And that first time doing anything new is like terrifying. And is there anything that really like made it click for you? Like, was it one of the people you were training, like saying something to you, or a feedback or something that made you be like, okay, I think I'm actually going to be okay?
Yeah, you know, I think for me, a lot of times it just comes down to people. I had a specific member that I bonded with, and like, she was going through her own life-changing process of getting involved with the studio, and she was, you know, looking to make drastic changes within her life. And, you know, we bonded. She was somebody I was able to talk to and be open with about how I was feeling about that. And she was just really pushing, like, no, you need to stay. Like, this is going to be good for you too, right? Like, you can be in this together, and now you get to train me, and we can bond about this. And like, yeah, just, you never realize the amount of support you have.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes just people just help you out of nowhere, and you don't even expect it. Yeah. So being able to kind of turn that and just want to give, you know, has really helped me, because in return, it's tenfold. I feel like, you know, the more you're able to give and show gratitude, it's just going to come back full circle.
Yeah. You know, it's actually funny. I don't know if in all the hundreds of workout classes that I've probably done, if I've like, you're probably sitting there on your first time being like, oh my God, everyone's staring at me. Everyone's listening to me.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're in the class, you're thinking that, right? You're like, everyone's staring at me. Like, I look so bad doing this or whatever. I'm so awkward. I'm weak. I'm this, I'm that. It's like funny because you think that, but maybe they're not staring at you. Right. They're so focused on themselves. Thing,
right? And like, I tell people all the time, like, especially as I'm training newer coaches and stuff like that, like, you have to realize when you're up there speaking in front of people, like, most of the people that are out there, if they were in your shoes too, they're going to be feeling some type of way.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even tenfold worse, right? You know, I had a girl that I was training a couple months ago, and she was really terrified of doing this type of stuff. She would have little mini breakdowns right before. You know, there was one day she kind of cried for a second. One day she tried to like pass the buck on everything, right? And coming from my experience in the past, I was able to kind of navigate her and guide her into it, you know, and being gentle. A lot of times is the answer, right? Being forgiving of things. Like, you're going to mess up. I still mess up. I do it like, you know, X amount of times a week, and I still stumble over my words. I still, you know, trip over things while I'm talking. Like, and the easier you are to just brush it off and realize, you know what, this is just good. This is part of life in general, not this aspect. It's everything, you know?
Yeah, I love that. In a group class, especially when you have such a range, right? 12 years old up to 70 years old, how do you pay attention to everyone and make sure everyone feels seen and heard? Because I would assume that that's really challenging. And if you focus on just, okay, the average person in there, you're going to lose everyone else. So you've grown a lot of clients quickly. And how do you kind of manage all of that at once?
Sometimes I honestly don't know. I can sit here and say, I don't know. But a lot of it is just trying to really be in tune with everybody and what they're kind of feeling. Body language can say a lot about people. You know, if I can see somebody struggling, whether it's in their eyes or maybe they, you know, grab their lower back or they're doing something a little bit off, and just being in tune and just approaching them and treating them like one of your best friends. What's going on? How are you feeling? You doing okay? You know, there's coaches and stuff like that who are really aggressive and they just want to keep pushing and stuff like that. But being a trainer, it's not really like you're just there for the physical, right? You have to be there and provide a mental safe space for a lot of people. A lot of people, this is their 45 minutes to get away from everything else they have going on in their life. Well, it might be my important part of the day. For a lot of people, it's just a piece of the puzzle. Right? So being able to just be open and have that empathy and understanding, like, you know, even, for example, one of my members this past week, she lost her dad, you know, so she hasn't been in, right? So the extra work that you can do as a coach or, you know, anything like that is reach out. Just a simple text, you know, thinking about you. Our thoughts and prayers, whatever it is, there's little details that you can do to really kind of build connection with people, which, again, it's always going to come down to that. as building connection with people.
Yeah. And I would assume that someone would way prefer to come back to your class when you're paying attention to them and their life that much than any other class where they are just being screamed at for 45 minutes.
Exactly. Or, just some people, they prefer to go in and just like do their thing and you kind of keep distance, and then after class you can talk to them. Yeah. Right. Some people are just laser focused and doing their thing. There are people that, I can go and just, I'm basically, I have to say this about like hairstylists all the time. It's kind of like your little mini therapy session. Yeah. Right. You can go to your hairstylist and just like talk about whatever and know that secret's going to be there and be safe. Right. Yeah. I can't tell you like how many times I've been fortunate enough to be involved in someone's life where they're sharing information with me that they haven't even told their family yet. Right. I actually trained one of my best friend's little sisters. She got pregnant about 3 months ago. Yeah. And she tells me before that she even told the rest of her family. Wow. Just so I can keep her safe and everything like that. So it's really cool to just be that involved in people's lives and know that they put the trust in you and just you can put it right back in them too. Right? Yeah. So that's awesome. With these,
different relationships that you've built across all of your industries that you've been in, is there any, information or advice you could offer on maintaining professional relationships in all these differing industries? Like how you said you walked away from hospitality, maybe you wanted to come back, or modeling, now you're in Arizona. So what does that look like, maintaining all those relationships?
I think a lot of it, it's to be said, like first impressions truly do matter, especially when it comes to the modeling and stuff like that, because it does a lot of connecting with people about, okay, we've used so-and-so before, this producer's used you on a past job, we got good read from you guys, right? Being easy to work with goes a long way. Yeah. And also being really authentic. Just being yourself all the way through. It's pretty easy for some people to tell when you're putting up a facade, right? I see it a lot when I start training new coaches, especially. Yeah. They're acting a certain way, but I can tell it's not really authentic. Yeah. And then the easiest thing you do is just bust your ass. Yeah. Regardless, like work as hard as you can, no matter what it is. Even if you're on a photo shoot, making your jobs easier for everybody else. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm up there in front of the camera wearing the clothes, but what can I do to help the stylist? Yeah. As far as the clothes goes, what can I do on set to, even if I'm just pulling props off that they're asking to do, right? And that just builds, a trust and connection, and they see that. People are always watching. Yeah. People are always aware of things, and they do take little mental notes about how you're acting, how do you treat people. Yeah. Like you never disrespect your makeup artist. You never disrespect the hairstylist, because you never know what job they're going to be on next. Right. They could just be like, I worked with this model from this job. He was amazing. Let's bring him on. Yep. Yeah. So it's always going to be, everything's an opportunity. Every interaction.
Hey, it's Isabelle. Thanks for listening to the Young Boss podcast. I recently wrote a book called Young Boss, and it's filled with top tips I've learned over the years on how to survive and thrive in business. Pre-order your copy now by heading to the link in the podcast description. Now, back to the show. Coming from LA back to Phoenix, did you anticipate like a huge shift in how many jobs you were going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. I was expecting near nothing, to be honest. Like coming from such a huge market and then coming back to Arizona where I had worked a minuscule amounts of jobs, and then now it's like, what's going on? Oh, really? Yeah. Like what's happening? Like it's funny because now I'm not even having to go to castings or auditions or do that type of grind. They're just calling and reaching out. And it's like, I can credit that to, my agency, Ford Robert Black. They've been established here for 20 years. Wow. And they've made all those connections super easy for me as well. Yeah. It's always teamwork.
Is there any jobs that you've been on that you were like, oh my God, please never send me to work with these people?
This comes from a place of like very dark, but I was in an uncomfortable situation with another photographer, a male photographer. It happens to women a lot as well, but it does happen in the industry for men too, where, the photographer is, pressing up on you or wanting you to do certain things. And it's just one time where I was like that. And I made it very known. I never worked with them again. I told my agency. They never sent anybody else to him again. Again, that's reputation. Yeah. Right. And also, I've had people who used to see him and they would not stand up for themselves. Right. Because you think this is part of the job. This is what we should be doing. Right. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is me making it. You have that pressure, but you got to always stand up for yourself and that stuff too. Yeah. Other than that, some of the days I've shot for companies and it's like, oh, you have 200 looks today, and it's all e-com, and it's like, robot, turn as fast as you can, take your clothes off as quickly as possible. Yeah. Those jobs they're work.
Yeah.
They're a lot of work, you know? So those, I mean, I never complained about it, but
No.
those days you get done, you're just like fried.
Exhausted.
Fried. I can barely keep my eyes open because they flash, flash, flash.
Yeah. Wow. And I think about that with e-com, there's that huge rage of people saying that models are going to be selling their likeness. So now it's like, is this even going to be an industry that exists? It always will to some extent, but you coming in saying, I help clean up the props too. I'm, you know, courteous. I'm nice. I'm all this stuff. I would think that would help them be like, no, we want to work with real humans, not AI. But have you noticed any shift in that where companies maybe are not using real life people anymore and they're starting to go after?
You know, I actually I haven't had any personal interaction with it yet. You know, I was around when I used to go to casting and stuff. I actually had to bring a hardcover book with pictures in it, right? I actually had to have like a hard
America's
portfolio.
Next Top Model
You know,
style.
you actually had a hardcover, right? And then I was there like, okay, now it's mandatory. You have to get an iPad.
Oh.
So they can have it digital.
Okay.
Right? And then it became, they don't even want to see the iPad. What they do they would cast us, you know, slate us, and they would put like our Instagram handle right under there. So a lot of times the first thing they look at is social media.
How many followers?
How many followers? How often do you post? Do you post about the brands you work with? Do you have a good reputation on social media, right? You know, all that stuff kind of piles up. And, you know, I haven't seen too much as far as AI goes, but I mean, I'm not going to be surprised when it happens soon. Because a lot of companies, bottom line is the numbers.
I have been told that I saw this interview with someone that they said, hey, it's a better time than ever to be in modeling for the fact that they're more inclusive than ever, right? You've got shorter people, you've got every different color and ethnicity and gender and every age. Like, and if we went back 20, 30 years ago, like that was not happening, right? But it's a harder time than ever because if you don't have the followers, they don't want you.
Yeah, exactly. And now more than ever, a brand can go reach out, post something, hey, we're looking for models, no pay. They don't want to pay, right? No pay, or, you know, trade for print. You get the photos out of it. Or, hey, we'll give you 3 outfits, right? Whereas you go to a company that through an agency, you're getting your day rate, commission has to be paid.
Yeah.
So now everything's getting undercut. You know, so you could have somebody that has little to no experience go on set and they get pictures and whatever else, and then they get free stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a whole
huge shift. Huge shift.
Exactly. And that's, as a model, if you are partaking in this and you're doing this, like brands will reach out to you. You know, you have to stand your ground and redirect them back to your agency because you're not just protecting yourself.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture is if you guys really want to be successful and just keep making good money in this, we have to make sure that the service we're giving is worth that money.
Yeah, that is a totally new twist on the agency. And on a business hand, it's like, hey, I kind of get it. Like they're trying to get free work. They're trying to cut their budgets. They're trying to get people who are, you know, out there and look like a normal person because they are a normal person, but maybe has a big following or whatever. Exactly. I get it. But also it's like you're completely cutting out the agency. And then also you're completely cutting out the people who are professionals in this industry.
And there is a big difference between somebody that's a professional that knows what they're doing versus somebody that might be raw.
Yeah.
You know, as you get on set and stuff, I'm sure, you know, people with bad birdie can probably, you know, I've had some newer people and stuff like that where you can tell, you know, and it takes longer. It's not as easy. It doesn't flow as well. You're not getting the images that you're really looking for and stuff like that. Maybe they're not showcasing the clothes the proper way, right? Because I'm a human hanger. Yeah. That's all I am. I get up there and it's not really about the face or anything. It's about the clothes. Yeah. For me. So if you don't have that skill and you go on set and they're giving you just clothes, it's going to kind of show as well in like the final images too.
Yeah. Wow. So you're not just a pretty face.
I like to think not.
So, you know, I would assume when you're going out on these different shoots, whether it's Bad Birdie, whether it's Chanel, whether it's whatever, it's a totally different energy you have to bring to that set because you are portraying a certain type of man or a certain like guy who would wear this, a different vibe at every single set. How do you kind of take that into account? And do you do any like research beforehand to see like, what might they be looking for? Or when you see the clothes, do you kind of get the energy right then? Yeah,
I think now I'm to a point where I can see the clothes and just kind of feel it right away. really good companies will always kind of set out a mood board
Okay.
of kind of like the vibe and energy that they're going for, right? And so you have to kind of just dial yourself into that, so to speak. It's almost like mini acting,
Yeah.
right? You have to really just be in tune with what their brand is going for and what they're about as well. So I do like to do research. You know, I was checking out Bad Birdie's page before. I had looked at their stuff, and now more than ever, even on photo shoots, they're videoing, right? So that's where you can really put out a vibe of like what they're going for. Bad Birdie's fun. They're having a good time and stuff like that. Something like Chanel, who I absolutely love working for. You know, it's intense, it's edgy, it's, you know, have to be very present, very stern, very uptight and up, you know. So that's another thing where if you're not in tune with that or capable of doing that, it's going to show in the images, and especially on video. Like a video is very, very different as far as when you're going for clothes, because it's, again, clothes look great, all that good stuff, but if you're not like emulating it on a bigger scale, it's going to show.
Yeah. When did they start your whole career in modeling? Have they been using video? Because obviously I'm thinking reels, right? Like I follow Bad Birdie and there's the reels going on, right? And it's showing the clothes. So when did you really start to notice that?
I would say, probably when I was 25-ish, so probably like 5 to 8 years ago.
Okay,
I really noticed
pretty recently.
They started really doing a lot of the reel type stuff, but it was almost like they were doing clips and stuff. And for some of these companies, they're taking it and they're submitting it to investors. Right? Where can we draw funding from? And it's how do you create this image of what we're trying to create so we can get more money as well too, right? So it is layered to it. A lot of times I'd do shoots and stuff, and I would never see the images, never see the video, and I'd ask. I was curious.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we just had a board meeting. We presented it to a couple investors, and that was it. So I don't ever see it. So it's like,
okay.
So it is about, you know, creating the vibe. It's how do you sell the product too?
Yeah.
Right. Because it is a business still.
Oh yeah.
It's always going to come down to that. But good companies, they know how to really showcase the energy of what they're putting out.
Yeah.
I think Bad Birdie did a fantastic job. I had so much fun, right? Even Alex, it was like, I thought for sure one day he was like, it's the last day. I thought he caught everybody's attention. I was like, oh boy, something serious is happening. I thought he was gonna be like, we got to pick things up. We're so far behind. Da 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 da. But now all of a sudden he goes, that's a wrap. And next thing you know, Bad Birdie's pushing in a DJ, there's champagne, and that's just like, that is what they are about.
That's the energy.
That fun energy lifestyle. Like you're playing golf, having a good time, wearing funky colors and threads and stuff like that. And like companies can really do that, not only for somebody that's investing or anything like that, but also for the people that they're working with.
Yeah.
People are going to want to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to want to keep working with you.
Oh yeah. Everyone's going to fight for that shoot.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I'm already knocking. Hey, when are you guys shooting again?
I love that. When you're on set, I mean, clearly you have an agency, you have someone who's helping you get booked and stuff, but then when you go on set, you're really alone. So you have to do everything yourself and get all that feedback to then go back to your agency and say, hey, good, bad, ugly, or this was my experience or whatever. What was that like? And did you kind of understand that, or did they teach you what that was going to be like? How did that work?
I mean, in my first couple of shoots, it was, I didn't know what I was walking into.
Yeah.
You know, right? So everything's brand new, but how you treat people right away, like I've said, you know, before, it just is everything.
Yeah.
Right. How respectful are you? Are you grateful for being there, that they actually selected you out of how many different people?
Right.
Right. And that's just kind of where it all stems from.
Yeah.
And then again, if you can read the room and read energy, you know, you can pick up what the director is saying, or the photographer's looking for, or production, or maybe the actual designers on set, like, and just being really receptive to criticism as well. Because let's say, I get up there and it's just not what they're looking for.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, what can I do now to change it up?
Okay.
So it's just also being able to, you know, get denied some jobs, you know, and then coming back on other jobs where it could be really harsh and intense. You know, Chanel is very stern, like, this is how we're going to do it. You know, how well can you perform at that point?
Yeah. I guess I never thought about that, but it's got to be something that's happened to you before. Have you ever been there on set and then they're kind of like, never mind, you're not the guy?
Luckily, no. But I've seen it happen. It tends to be, at least what I've seen personally, is when a female shoots.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times the images aren't coming up how she was portrayed maybe in her portfolio.
Yeah.
A lot of the girls are just young.
Yeah.
And that kind of reads differently on video versus camera and stuff like that. So if a girl looks too young for the company, it's like, okay,
it's not a fit.
Sorry. You know, this is not, you know, they'll still pay them their day rate and everything like that. But it does happen sometimes, you know, and Never seen it happen to a guy. Knock on wood, that's not wood, but yeah. So.
Wow, that's interesting. Actually, I had a friend who used to do all the set design for Playboy. And she said all the time girls would come in and they'd be like, nope. Yeah. So they would overbook every single shoot because most of these girls did not look like their photos and they did not shoot well. And she only really had girls, very rarely guys. And so she would say that all the time, but I guess I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, she was like, no, it's like a big deal. Like a lot of these people do not look like themselves.
And like we had spoke about earlier now with like Instagram and everything, people posting up
it's tough.
Facetune stuff and whatever else going on. Then a company brings them in, then they get there and it's like, well, you are not the same looking person that you are in there. So it is something.
A little catfish going on.
Yeah, exactly. You always have to be aware.
Okay. With your degree in kinesiology, you obviously know a lot of knowledge about fitness and health and what you probably should or shouldn't be doing. But then on the modeling side, there's a lot of pressure to look a certain way. Is there anything that you do before shoots that you're like, maybe it's not the healthiest, but I need to do this so I look my best? Or are you like, no, I'm sticking with what is truly healthy?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about trying to stick with what I'm doing as far as my personal health goes. And I'm grateful for having that knowledge of learning and experience with my degree and working in fitness as well. Yeah. But there are a lot of people that do some pretty extreme things, not eating, not drinking water to look more shredded. Yeah. I'm guilty of like going to the gym, like, 30 minutes before if it's like a swimwear shoot or anything like that. So there are some extremes though. Obviously living in LA and Hollywood for as long as I have, you can only imagine some of the extremes that I've seen as far as, whether it be drugs or anything along those lines. It's very real. Yeah. Some of those movies and stuff where it's like on set and they're just partying nonstop. Yeah, that stuff actually does happen. Yeah. So luckily I've been fortunate enough to not partake and be good because I'm aware, and all that good stuff. And I've had underwear shoots and stuff like that where there's some weird stuff I've seen happen there. Like I've had stories about guys telling me like, they will pull up, porn on their phone and then go out and on set and start shooting. So it looks like, they have like
more full,
more full. Exactly. So they're not having to stuff or anything, but yeah, there are little tricks of the trade that people will be doing all the time.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Does it ever, like all these crazy things that happen, do you just kind of laugh it off or?
At this point, yes. With all the different ranges of jobs and like environments I'm in, nothing can really surprise me too much anymore as far as that stuff goes. Yeah.
That is funny. You clearly have 3 totally different realms of things that you do. And I love that you're kind of diversifying. You're like, let me see, different parts of you get to shine in different ways. And I think that's a lot of fun. What do you think about that and someone who's wanting to get started, but maybe doesn't know what to do? Any advice for someone like that?
Jump in. That's all. Like it's that simple. Even if you're unsure if you're going to like it or not, how will you ever know? Yeah. You'll never know until at least you try it. Right. I could say the same about me with like my group fitness stuff. Like I was terrified. Right. I was absolutely terrified. Was going to quit, but I kept at it because I felt like there was an opportunity for me to, again, you're going to always learn something. Yeah. Whether you succeed, whether you fail, whether you have to keep attempting it. If it feels like you have anxiousness, just jump.
There you go.
Just jump and know that no matter what, you're going to be okay.
I love it.
You're always going to be okay.
Yeah. If people want to maybe come to one of your F45 classes, where can they find you?
I'm at F45 Training Gilbert East. It's off Recker and Williamsville. It's over here in Gilbert.
Yeah. Awesome. And if they want to see your modeling work, I'm sure all the ladies are going to want to see what's going on and the men.
Yeah. Just Instagram at Brandyn_Farrell. I'm not a big poster. I'm not going to lie. So maybe just go on Google and go to my agency website. I let them handle all of that these days. It's like, I ain't got time for that.
Okay. I like it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
And if anybody wants to come to a show, I work for Relentless Beats. Yes. And they are local. So if you're looking for tickets or a VIP table or anything like that, just hit me up.
Hit him up. Yeah. There you go. All of our VIPs. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Young Boss Podcast with your host, Isabelle Guarino. Be sure to like, share, and follow on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And let us know, have you ever seen Brandyn in a photo shoot? Remember, your youth is your power.